mix up there. I think I think Keyshawn's the real deal too, but we got to see how fast he can get a title shot up at 140.
He holds a big name. How do you think he does with some of these champions?
I think he does good. Let me see. Uh, who's the champions up there? Matias. I think he beats Matias. Um,
Decision,
yes,
stoppage.
decision. I think he beats Matias. I think Gary Russell, Gary Antoine Russell, probably edges him right now. And I can't really call him and Theo and him and Hitchens. I think they like 50-50 fights. But Gary Russell is the real deal, bro. I don't think he lost to Puelo. Gary Russell can fight. You know what I mean? He just don't really stay active, but he can fight.
Andre Jones, thank you for the $2. Berlanga is done. Talked all that shit and karma. Yeah, they're really giving it to him.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, man. Um, it's gonna be tough, man. For Berlanga, man, social media is brutal, bro. It just is. But when you build yourself like that, then this is the downside of it.
100%. 100%. Now, I remember I talked to when they released Devin Haney and Norman, and you didn't really have a prediction. You didn't, because it was just so new to you at the time. Now that you've seen them face to face, um, some encounters as far as mind games is concerned, tell me, what do you think about that matchup now?
I still don't have a prediction. It's still too early, but I think it's a great matchup, man. I think it's gonna come down to if Brian Norman can figure out a way to cut the ring off with an urban fighter that got rhythm and got a jab and not gonna stand in front of him. Because there's not a lot of guys that know how to cut the ring off in this era and track a guy down. And then it's gonna also come down to can Devin take his punches? That's you know what I mean. We got to see if Devin can take the punches of a legitimate punching welterweight that's knocking guys out.
What
So we got to see.
What about the factor of, them being, around the same size and, Devin stepping up into the division?
With these guys cutting so much weight these days, I don't put as much emphasis on moving up in weight as I once did. You know what I mean? Because Devin's a big guy. You know what I mean? So he probably was struggling to make 35 and 40. So he probably gonna feel more comfortable at 47. So I don't put as much emphasis on it. Devin actually looked a little taller and a little longer than him when they stood next to each other. So um I don't know. We got to kind of see how Devin holds the weight. You know what I mean? But I think that if you're walking around at 165, 170 pounds, then making 147 should probably be a little easier than you. And I don't know what Devin walk around at, but I could just kind of look at a guy's body and tell that he ain't no dude that walk around in the 150s. I could look at him and tell. So maybe not cutting those extra pounds might make him a little bit stronger. So we just got to see how they match up. Um, I think that's a great fight. That's one of the I love fights where I don't really have a grasp on it. Like I'm like looking like, damn, this fight could go either way. Some days I think that Devin can outbox him, and then some days I say, damn, man, I wonder if Devin could take them punches from that kid. You know what I mean? Because that kid got a sneaky left hand. It's like sneaky, and we got to see, man. I'll have a pick for you, but I got to really break it down and see some things. But I don't. I do think it's a risky fight for Devin, but there is. I can't see a scenario where he outboxes Norman. You know what I mean? I really can. Norman does get hit, and he had a tough time with a guy named Boca Chica, but I think he improved since then. He had a tough time with Boca Chica, and his recent opponents have not been black fighters. They've been guys that have been coming right in his wheelhouse, and you could tell that the kid can punch. So that's a little bit different than dealing with a dude with a 73, 74-inch reach that's jabbing you and feinting you and moving you around and not letting you set your feet. It's a little bit of a different fight. And it's not saying he can't overcome it, but I just haven't seen him deal with that style. Um, I just got to see, man. Uh, it's going to be really interesting, man, because again, a lot of guys don't really cut the ring off well in this era. We don't really have that. You know what I mean? Being able to punch on the move, trap a guy in a corner, and and score points and beat on him and isolate him. It's hard to deal with that in this. And we don't have a lot of that in this era. You know what I mean? Chocolatito was a little older. David Benavidez does it pretty good. But Turbiev does it pretty good. But the list is kind of slim. So we got to Tank actually did it good versus Frank Martin. He showed that he could do it against Frank Martin. But it's not going to be easy for um for Norman if Devin fights a pure boxing style. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Norman if Devin fights like that.
Mm, mm. What about as far as the skill ability? A lot of people talk about Norman's power, but no one really talks about, his IQ matching up with Devin. And then also, when you said that, you feel like Devin will fill in good, but can it also be vice versa? Could it be that he could be weaker at the division because he's been trying to make that weight for such a long time?
Sure, sometimes you can make a weight for so long it screws your body up. But I don't know Devin well enough to say what's what. You know what I mean? I'm not training him. I'm not in camp with him. I don't know what his blood levels look like. You know, these fighters they get tests done to make sure that they're not losing minerals and all kinds. A lot of stuff that goes into that. And I'm sure Devin and his dad are very resourceful. They know what they got to do as far as that is concerned. But Brian Norman do got a lot of skill. Because sometimes we don't give power punchers credit for their skill, but they still have to land the shot in the sweet spot to get the guys out of there. So you got to set that spot up, that shot up. So against the Japanese fighter. I'm sorry if I can't remember his name.
Jin
Um,
Sasaki.
Jen Sasaki. Okay. Well, fighters mirror other fighters. So a lot of times, if you do something to a fighter, he'll do it to you. So Brian Norman, his brain was working so good that day. He threw a jab to the body, and Jen Sasaki came and threw a jab back to his body. So then, as soon as he threw the jab back to his body, Brian Norman was waiting for it. He took a half a
Hmm.
step back and then leaped in with a left hook. So that's IQ. That's
I,
pad
I
work.
broke
That's
that down.
preparation.
Yep.
That's preparation. So he has an IQ, and if you listen to Brian Norman Jr. speak, he's an intelligent kid. You know what I mean? He's not dumb. You know what I mean? So he takes his time when he talks. He um he knows what he's looking at. Um he speaks. He doesn't speak like ignorant. Some of these guys get in front of a mic and they say the N word a bunch of times and they just talk crazy. They don't understand like boxing. They don't under if you go back more than 30 years, they don't know guys. That kid is intelligent. So I think he has a high IQ. I do. I think that he can that just because you a power puncher, sometimes people think that a guy, if they come forward, they don't know how to box. That's bullshit. Triple G was boxing going forward. David Benavidez, he's boxing going forward. He's using boxing moves, but he's attacking you. I know you probably don't want me to bring this up, but Julio Cesar Chavez, one of the best pressure fighting performances I ever seen in my life, was him versus Edwin Rosario, another Puerto Rican fighter. If you watch that fight, he's boxing going forward. Um, Chavez is. So you can box going forward and be a power puncher. Mike Tyson did it in his prime with the twitchy head movement and he's slipping a punch and slipping on the inside of you with great combinations. So Norman definitely has an IQ and he can but he just we got to just see if he could do it versus Devin. You know what I'm saying? He could definitely set a trap. He's good at setting trap, but it's a little bit different setting a trap against a guy that's coming to you than the guy that you got to go get. You know what I mean? So we just got to see if he can do it. I'm not saying that he can't, but that's the reason why I can't. Like, I don't. It's hard for me to make a pick with this fight because I sometimes the styles of the guys that you're fighting can make you look a little bit better than what you really are. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Brian Norman's not the real deal, but again, he's not fighting black, slick, or athletic or fighters that are moving with feints and the jab that's not worried about knocking them out. They're just trying to score points. It's a little bit of a different assignment. So I just want to see if he could do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. HLD definitely a low blow. Um, but